Hello and welcome to another tarot tutorial, and today we're going to be looking at the 10 of Cups, which is one of the minor arcana cards that I picked out randomly for today. The traditional meaning of the 10 of Cups in, for instance, the Rider-Waite deck. This is a version of the Rider-Waite. The colours are a little bit more bright and bold. I think it's a Radiant Rider-Waite deck. But anyway, the traditional image is obviously of a family celebration, completeness, wholeness. You've got the sense of all the colours of a rainbow and everything's rosy in the garden. But Crowley does depart from that meaning quite considerably. Looking at how people view the card both in on the internet and in some of the textbooks on the Thoth deck, most go along with the traditional meaning of the card here, but obviously they haven't actually bothered to look at what Crowley intended for this card. Obviously Crowley's interest was very much to do with the Kabbalah, and its position on the Tree of Life in the 10th Sephiroth, which is Malkuth, is very tenuous. We know from life that anything material just decays and reforms into something new, so there's never anything that is actually stable in the number 10 in terms of the Tree of Life. And we'll have a look at that more philosophically in the next section. So there's inherent stability in the number 10 rather than completeness. And something that I got a quote out of this book, which is by Mr. B.O.T.A here. This book could have been the best book I think I've mentioned on the market, but he really just let slip in his interpretations of the card. The book starts off great. I'll do a review of that. But anyway, it does have some nice touches, that is for sure. I'll take a quote out of him because he has these passages from when Crowley was writing to Frieda Harris, who actually did all the artwork for the deck. And one of the quotes from Crowley to Harris, 19th of December 1939, and this is the background to the card. He said, "The background, it ought to look menacing. There is something very, very sinister about this card. It suggests a morbid hunger which springs from surfeit, which means excess, such as the craving of a drug addict is the idea." Don't know whether he's referring to himself there, but anyway. At the same time, of course, it is the final agony of descent into illusion which renders necessary the completion of the circle by awakening Eld of the All-Father. Well, Eld of the All-Father is basically the void. So, again, that is just the disintegration of the 10 into the suit of swords. So a fair bit of philosophy behind the card, and we'll have a look at that a little bit more closely now, and then go on to how that strings out in a divinatory meaning. Okay, we'll just have a look at a general description of the card itself. So we can see that the cups themselves are arranged very much like the Tree of Life diagram that we'll see in a minute. And you've got the lotus stems forming the paths in between the cups representing the Sephiroth of the Tree of Life. You've got the 3 Sephira here, and those are all contained within this lotus flower at the top. So sometimes it's a bit difficult to see. You've got the lotus flower right at the top here, so it's not really an overly pretty diagram. And the cup here representing Keter is just at the very top of the top petal here. that's a general description. Obviously, you've got the Mars here, and you've got Pisces, which is barely visible in like a violet colour at the bottom there, representing the astrology of the card. And you've got these like ram type glyphs, which just represent Aries as well, which we'll see in a minute. So with regards to the Tree of Life, it's associated with Malkut at the bottom there, so it is on the middle pillar, but it's so far away from spirit. And essentially the reason that this is unstable is because we need to look at what's happening with this, and this is much more clear when we look at the 4 worlds here. So we've got the Sephiroth or Malkut. It's in the suit of cups, so it's associated with Bria here, and here it is. And the instability of the card relates to the fact, as I think I indicated at the beginning of the introduction, its energy is being transmuted into the sword suit here, where you've got all the conflict and all separation and everything that comes with the mind, all the joyous little events that we have to go through. So that's where its instability lies. It's just about to move and break up into the energy that the third world uses there. So in terms of Decan, we've got the sign of Pisces, and it occupies the third decan of Pisces, which is 20 to 30 degrees, ruled by Mars. And there we have the Rider-Waite card, illustrating the card associated with that decan there. So we've got a astrological attribution of Mars in Pisces, which doesn't take a lot of working out to come to the conclusion that Mars and Pisces don't really get on. Mars is a very willful, destructive, aggressive energy, and Pisces is it's the most spiritual of signs. It's sensitive and quiet, so you've definitely got a mismatch between those two. So we're never going to have a sense of harmony within this card that's going to last for very long, because Mars is going to push it into the next sign, which is Aries, for a new beginning. So as I said, with Aries it's new beginnings, and we've got a new suit, which would be the suit of swords. With regards to the symbology of the card, there's not an immense amount. One thing that's been noted is there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 streams coming from the top cup here, and 5 again is related to Gebera, the Sephiroth Gebera, and that is ruled by Mars. We've got the red lotus flower indicating Mars, and these glyphs as well, these Mars glyphs there. And as I said, the function of Mars is to move Pisces into a new into Aries. So this is Mars is really the dominant energy of this card. Another thing, the cups are tilted, so they're not exactly that stable. They're like overpouring here. So as we move down into near Malkut here, it becomes less and less stable. And this represents the divinatory meaning of the card, really, because it's all about a situation where we feel we can should be content and happy, but we're not. It's like we've come to the end of what the usefulness of that particular thing is, Can be anything, such as people that go out and buy a new car to make them feel happy, and it does so for a while, and then they find out that they are just as empty as what they were before they bought it. It can be to do with the in a relationship sense. It can relate to a relationship we were once happy in, and now we don't feel we are. So there was a sense of fulfillment, but now it's like it's gone. It's like the cups are full and there's nowhere for that energy to go. So, as I say, these top cups are full, they're not tilted, so initially we're quite happy, but then as we come to the limitations of it, as we expend our energy in it, the cups are ever more unstable here, until you get to the, as I said, B.O.T.A, which is where the energy needs to move on. So the divinatory meaning is, as I say, fairly straightforward here. It's a fleeting type of happiness which is short-lived and lost its ability to fulfill us. It can even be something like a PS4 game or anything that, you know, we can get us we get ourselves, and then we think, wow, that's fantastic, and we feel elated, and then it's just gone within no time. And some people actually spend a lifetime doing this. So that's its sort of upright meaning, but in reverse, things like staying in a relationship that's not fulfilling, and failure to recognise that this is like a long-term pattern in someone's life, like acquiring material things only to find them like incapable of providing us with fulfilment. So it's more, in its reverse meaning, it's more of an ingrained thing. So we'll move on now to the final section and just look at it in relation to a spread. Okay, on to the last section here with the Ten of Cups. If that is the first card that comes out in a Celtic Cross reading, then the overall pervading energy of the reading would be someone who is essentially unfulfilled. Not that they have always felt that way. They've obviously attained things in their life, but currently whatever they have is not fulfilling them in a deeper way. For instance, it may be someone who has developed their career and has finally got what they want, what they thought they want, and lo and behold, it isn't fulfilling. So it's not that their life is inherently bad. There's lots of good things going on, especially if the Nine of Discs come up, so lots of good things there. But Ten of Cups is encouraging them to take another step and look at something else in a different direction that might fulfill them. With the Three of Wands, you're looking at virtuous actions that we need to think about a little bit more. So if the Three of Wands crosses the Ten of Cups, this is not a bad a conflicting thing. It's just encouraging them to think more deeply, and whether they can do something of benefit to society and to others. Plato discusses the principle of virtue in his book The Republic, and for anyone wanting a philosophical discourse of the act of virtue, then have a look at Plato's Republic. The Ten of Discs has moved on from the Nine of Discs, because this is basically someone that has just accumulated wealth and gone beyond that initial spark of, yes, I've got a career, and both tens are encouraging that person to move their life in a completely different direction. So there's instability in the Ten of Discs. It's in Malkut, in the Suit of Discs, which is the lowest form of the energy on the Tree of Life, and both the Ten of Cups, as we said, is inherently unstable. So again, those cards would be encouraging the person to quickly move on and find fulfillment in something a little bit more deeper than what they've been looking at. Four of Swords is essentially taking time out in this process and re-evaluating, which is what is needed, rather than just launch into something new, something different, to actually take thought and just see which areas of your life are yet to be fulfilled. Why am I going out buying loads of things? What do I really want? Do I really want more company? Do I want a relationship, or is my relationship that I have got unfulfilling? So that would be the interplay of these two cards. The Six of Cups is obviously pleasure, intense relationship there in the six, which is now not fulfilling, it's not enough. So that could be a couple, for instance, who are sexually compatible, and then they find that it can't move on from there. They need something which is far more sustaining, fulfilling. And again, with cards like this, the Six of Discs, so they've had success, it's all great, rosy in the garden, but that time is now come to an end and they need to move forward. Final card we look at is the Three of Cups, which is all about close friendships and in a sense material things, but mainly it's to do with friendships. So again, that may be, we may have friendships which are not really fulfilling us in the way that they should, so we'd have to look at the dynamic of those, whether we need to talk to the people involved to find out how that friendship can serve us better, or look for friends in a that will fulfill us in a more deeper way. So I hope that gives you some hints and tips on the Ten of Cups. Quite different to the Rider-Waite there, but nevertheless that is how it was intended to play out philosophically and practically. Okay, take care of yourselves. I hope to see you again. Bye for now.